My beloved child, before this message reaches its deepest truth, stay with me for a moment, because what you are about to hear carries a weight that your heart has quietly been preparing for. Your special person recently stood in complete silence after hearing something from their own family that changed the way they looked at your connection. They expected to hear ordinary concerns, but instead they were told a story about you that left them questioning everything they believed. It was not because they stopped caring, and it was not because their feelings disappeared. It was because someone they trusted claimed that you were far beyond their reach, that your future would never truly align with theirs. Those words echoed through their heart until hope slowly faded. Yet hidden inside that painful conversation was one detail no one noticed. As this unfolds, clarity will come, because the very statement that pushed them away is also the reason an unexpected truth is preparing to reveal itself. Something huge is waiting for you, and every passing moment is bringing that hidden answer closer. There was a quiet evening when your special person replayed every memory they shared with you, searching for a reason to keep believing. Every smile, every conversation, every coincidence suddenly felt more meaningful than before. Their family believed they had closed the chapter forever, but deep inside, your special person could not silence the feeling that something important had been left unsaid. They wondered why life kept placing your name before them in unexpected moments. Why familiar places reminded them of you. Why every attempt to move forward somehow led them back to the same unanswered questions. Stay with me for a moment, because what seemed like the ending was quietly becoming the beginning of something no one expected. The answers were never hidden from you. They were hidden from everyone else. Then, without warning, another conversation unfolded that changed the atmosphere completely. Someone older, someone who had remained silent until now, revealed a forgotten piece of the past. They explained that first impressions are often built on incomplete stories and that people sometimes mistake potential for impossibility. Those words planted a small spark inside your special person's heart. The hopelessness that had surrounded them began to weaken. They realized they had accepted someone else's conclusion without discovering the truth for themselves. This may resonate as we continue, because many connections are tested before they are understood. Sometimes the greatest misunderstanding becomes the doorway to the greatest realization. At that very moment, your special person made a quiet promise that no one else could hear. Instead of allowing fear to make every decision, they decided to watch carefully for signs they had ignored before. Small coincidences started appearing one after another, almost as if life itself refused to let your paths disappear. A familiar song, an unexpected memory, a meaningful conversation with a stranger, each moment reminded them that some stories cannot be erased simply because others doubt them. They no longer felt certain about walking away. Instead, they began wondering whether everything they had been told about you was missing the most important piece. As this unfolds, clarity will come, because the next discovery has the power to challenge every belief that separated your hearts. And now, the silence before the next revelation feels heavier than ever. Your special person still doesn't know that the truth is much closer than they imagine. The words that stole their hope are beginning to lose their power, while hidden facts are quietly finding their way into the light. The question is no longer whether they cared enough. It is whether they will discover the truth before another opportunity slips away. Stay with me for a moment, because what happens next will connect every unanswered question, every unexpected sign, and every emotion that has remained unfinished until now. Something huge is waiting for you, and the next chapter begins where everyone else believed the story had already ended. A quiet shift has already begun, even though no one around your special person realizes it yet. They tried convincing themselves that their family's words were the complete truth, but every time they repeated those words in their mind, something felt incomplete. It was as if their heart refused to agree with the conclusion that had been handed to them. Then one unexpected conversation changed everything. A person who had known pieces of the story for years calmly said, "There is always another side that people forget to tell." That single sentence stayed with them long after the conversation ended. Stay with me for a moment, because the next discovery will make the past look completely different. As this unfolds, clarity will come, and the picture they once believed was complete is about to reveal its missing pieces. Over the next few days, small moments refuse to let your memory disappear. A familiar place, a forgotten message, and an unexpected reminder kept appearing at exactly the right time. Your special person slowly realized that hope had not vanished. It had simply been buried beneath fear and assumptions. They began asking themselves questions they had never dared to ask before. What if the story they were told was never the full story? What if someone misunderstood your intentions from the very beginning? This may resonate as we continue, because sometimes the strongest connections survive not because life is easy, but because the truth patiently waits for the perfect moment to be seen. Something huge is waiting for you, and every answer seems closer than it did yesterday. For the first time, your special person decided not to accept someone else's conclusion without looking for the facts themselves. They quietly started connecting memories that once seemed ordinary. Little details that had been ignored suddenly became impossible to overlook. Every remembered conversation carried a different meaning. Every silence seemed to hide an answer. The more they reflected, the more they realized that what looked like distance may have been built on misunderstanding rather than reality. A new sense of determination quietly replaced the hopelessness they had been carrying. If this story has kept you wondering what comes next, consider sharing this video with someone who believes that timing can change everything. Subscribe for more stories like this, and let the journey continue. Now your special person stands at the edge of a decision that could change everything. They know that moving forward without discovering the complete truth would leave them with questions they might never answer. Deep inside, they can feel that one final revelation is still waiting, and that revelation has the power to rewrite everything they believed about you. Stay with me for a moment, because the next chapter is where hidden truths begin stepping into the light. As this unfolds, clarity will come, and what seemed impossible only a short time ago is about to become far more believable than anyone expected. Everything changed the moment your special person stopped listening to the voices around them and started listening to the quiet questions inside their own heart. The more they searched for the truth, the more they realized that the story they had been told was missing its most important chapter. A forgotten detail suddenly returned to their memory, something you once said that seemed ordinary at the time but now carried a completely different meaning. That memory refused to leave them alone. Stay with me for a moment, because what once looked like coincidence is beginning to feel like a message that was waiting to be understood. As this unfolds, clarity will come, and every unanswered question is slowly finding its place. Soon after, another unexpected moment arrived. Someone who had remained silent for a long time finally admitted that assumptions had been made too quickly. They explained that people often judge a situation before knowing the full picture, and once those opinions spread, they become difficult to challenge. Your special person felt a mixture of surprise and relief. For the first time, they realized that losing hope may have been based on incomplete information rather than reality. The fear that had held them back started losing its grip, replaced by a growing determination to discover the truth for themselves. This may resonate as we continue, because some of life's greatest turning points begin with one simple realization: not every story you've been told is the whole story. As the days passed, your special person noticed something impossible to ignore. Every path they tried to take seemed to bring them back to thoughts of you. It wasn't forced. It wasn't planned. It simply kept happening in the most unexpected ways. A familiar place reminded them of an old conversation. A random melody brought back a forgotten smile. Even ordinary moments seemed to whisper that the connection was never truly lost. They finally understood that hope doesn't always disappear, it sometimes waits quietly until the truth catches up. Something huge is waiting for you, because the next piece of this story is closer than either of you realizes. Now your special person stands before a choice that cannot be delayed much longer. They can continue believing the version of the story that was given to them, or they can uncover the truth with their own eyes. Their heart is leaning toward the second path, even if they don't fully understand why. Deep inside, they feel that one final revelation is waiting just ahead, and that revelation has the power to transform everything they once believed about you. Stay with me for a moment, because the next chapter will reveal why the moment hope was lost was actually the moment everything quietly began to change. The moment your special person decided to seek the truth instead of relying on old assumptions, everything around them began to feel different. They noticed that every answer they searched for led to another hidden clue, as if the story itself was inviting them to look deeper. The words that once convinced them to give up no longer carried the same power. Instead, a new question echoed in their mind: what if I walked away from someone who deserved to be understood? Stay with me for a moment, because the next discovery is the one they never imagined they would find. As this unfolds, clarity will come, and the pieces that never seemed to fit are finally moving into place. Then came the conversation that changed everything. Someone close to the family quietly admitted that the original conclusion had been built on assumptions instead of complete understanding. No one had intentionally hidden the truth, but no one had taken the time to uncover it either. Your special person felt both relief and regret. Relief because hope was no longer impossible, and regret because they had allowed fear to speak louder than their own heart. In that moment, they realized your story had never truly been over, it had simply paused while the truth found its way to the surface. This may resonate as we continue, because sometimes the greatest turning point arrives only after every reason to believe seems gone. Now your special person has made a silent decision. Instead of wondering what if, they want to discover the truth for themselves. They know that unanswered questions can stay in a person's heart for years, and they no longer want to carry that weight. If this journey has kept you watching until now, share this video with someone who believes every story deserves to be heard, and subscribe so you don't miss the final chapter where every hidden piece comes together. Something huge is waiting for you, and the next revelation will explain why this connection refused to disappear despite every obstacle placed in its path. As the chapter closes, one final realization begins to shine through. Your special person finally understands that hope was never truly lost, it was simply covered by misunderstanding. The truth is now closer than ever, and the next step they take could change the direction of this entire story. Stay with me for a moment, because the final chapter holds the answer that has been quietly waiting from the very beginning. As this unfolds, clarity will come, and what is revealed next will make every earlier moment suddenly make perfect sense. At last, the moment your special person had been moving toward finally arrived. They chose to set aside every opinion they had accepted without question and trust what they had discovered for themselves. As they looked back on every conversation, every memory, and every unanswered question, one truth became impossible to ignore: the hope they believed had disappeared had only been hidden beneath uncertainty. Stay with me for a moment, because this final piece completes everything that came before. As this unfolds, clarity will come, and the reason this journey unfolded the way it did will finally make sense. Your special person now understands that the words spoken by their family were never the full story. They were only one perspective, not the final truth. The moment they accepted that, the weight they had been carrying began to fade. Instead of seeing your connection through fear, they started seeing it through understanding. They realized that meaningful relationships are not defined by assumptions but by the willingness to discover the truth with an open heart. This may resonate as we continue, because some of life's greatest lessons appear only after confusion gives way to clarity. Now there is a quiet sense of peace where uncertainty once lived. Your special person no longer feels trapped by the past. They have chosen to believe that every misunderstanding can become an opportunity to grow, and every unanswered question can lead to a wiser decision. The journey that once seemed finished has become the beginning of a new chapter filled with hope, patience, and understanding. Something huge is waiting for you, not because everything changed overnight, but because the truth finally found its voice. As this story comes to its close, remember the lesson hidden inside every chapter. Sometimes people lose hope because they hear only part of the story, but hope has a remarkable way of returning when truth is given the chance to speak. Stay with me for a moment, and carry this thought with you: the strongest connections are often the ones that survive misunderstanding and emerge with greater clarity. As this unfolds, clarity will come, and perhaps the greatest revelation was never about what others believed. It was about discovering the truth for yourself before deciding what your future should become.